As we dedicate today to water, I'm reminded of the beautiful proverb that says the frog does not drink up the well in which it lives, because it would seem so obvious, it would seem so unnecessary to speak about this. Clearly, water is life. Water is everything. That our earth is mostly blue, mostly water. And beautifully, the earth is water in the same way that the human body is water. The percentage of the earth that is water, which is just about 70%, is the same percent that our human bodies are approximately water. So we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. Our earth is mostly water. Our bodies are mostly water. And that water that flows here through the waters of our Mother Ganga, through all of our rivers, through all of our water bodies, connecting us into the oceans, running between us, beneath us in our groundwater, and literally through us in the rivers of our bodies that we call our veins and our arteries. We all are water. And water is that physical substrate of unity. When we speak about oneness and union, we just had our International Day of Yoga, where we spent the day and days before it talking about how we are one, how we are united. Well, water is the physical reminder of that. The same exact substance that makes us up is what makes up the earth. It's literally that which we are and that which connects us, which makes us realize how important it is, of course, but also how tragically absurd or absurdly tragic it is to actually have to have all of these events around reminding us of the importance of water. Every day, all over the world, parents get up, they go to work, they sit in traffic, they commute, cars, trains, buses, subways. People do things that they have no interest in doing just to make enough money to give their children a good life, to give their children a good education, to give their children the opportunity that they personally didn't have. The dilemma with that is, as beautiful as it may be, as inspiring, as wonderful, as understandable as it may be, if there's no water, all the education in the world isn't going to benefit them. If there's no water, it's irrelevant what job they're going to get. It's irrelevant what type of opportunities they will have. Without water, there is no opportunity. And our water is disappearing at a tragic rate. Tragic rate. The United Nations is telling us, all of our governments, or at least many of our governments, are telling us the water is disappearing rapidly. By 2040, we're going to have, according to UN statistics, up to hundreds of thousands of water refugees. Means people who have to leave their homes, leave their cities, leave their land, just because of water. Whether it's because the sea levels have risen, they won't have a place to live, or whether it's because where they live no longer has groundwater. Their well has literally run dry. And there's a lot of talk these days, beautiful talk, essential talk, crucial talk, fundamental talk about human rights and about the essentialness of ensuring that people of every race, of every religion, of every color, of every creed, of every socioeconomic status, of every sexual orientation, have access to human rights. Well, water is a human right. Hundreds of millions of refugees having to leave their homes because of no water is a violation of human rights. We're already in a situation today with what's going on with wars in a variety of countries. We don't know what to do with the refugees. It's already a human rights crisis. Imagine what happens in just a few years when we have up to hundreds of millions of people walking, looking for a place because they have no water. And I share this not to make you feel scared or bad or guilty, but actually because every one of us, every single one of us has the power to make a difference. Yes, a lot of the issues are massive intergovernmental policy issues over which very few of us have any control. But a huge amount of it actually is in our control. The simple example of what we eat. The Amazon rainforest produces about 20% of the oxygen of the world. It absorbs about 20% of the world's carbon dioxide. It gives us about 20% of the world's water. It is literally the lungs of the world and also the water of the world. And yet, aside from the fires, aside from governance issues, the Amazon is being cut down at the terrifying rate of more than an acre a second. Like this. An acre. An acre. For what? Simply to graze the cows who will become hamburgers. Simply for the production of beef. The production of half of a kg of beef, about a pound of beef, about the amount that if they all ate just a little bit, one family would eat in one meal. That amount of water is the amount of water that goes into bathing for 6 months. It's about 10,000 liters of water. About 2,500 gallons of water, which literally is what you would use if you bathe every single day, not from a bucket the way we do it in India, but literally from a shower head that is pouring water onto you for 8 minutes. Someone somewhere discovered that the average shower is about 8 minutes. So if you bathe every day, 8 minutes at a time, water pouring on you, that amount of water is the same amount of water that goes into the production of one meal of hamburgers for your family. Now the question is, it's not about telling people what to eat. It's not about taking away your freedom. It's not about us dictating your diet. It's not about religion. It's about a simple question. Are you prepared to not bathe for 6 months in order to offset the water usage of that meal? Think about it. We all know we're in a water crisis. If you are watching this, if you are joining with us today for water, you know we're in a water crisis. Chances are you turn off the tap when you brush your teeth. Wonderful. Chances are you've installed some kind of a low flow flush in your toilet, maybe a low flow shower head. Maybe you subscribe to the if it's yellow, let it mellow, if it's brown, flush it down view of how to conserve water in our toilets, all of which, by the way, are wonderful things to do. And all of which combined pale in comparison to the amount of water that goes into what you eat. And so the question again comes, are we prepared to refrain from bathing to offset the beef? And by the way, for people who say, well, I only eat chicken, chicken's about a third, so you'd only have to refrain from bathing for about 2 months. Now, again, it doesn't mean that we're sitting here on the banks of Ganga saying, thou shalt become an absolute vegetarian, an absolute vegan. If you can, fantastic. The earth thanks you, your body thanks you. Children dying of hunger, thank you. The Amazon thanks you. But it doesn't have to be black or white. If even you can cut down a little bit, every meal of hamburgers that you don't eat, that you eat vegetarian instead, that's 10,000 liters of water. About 5 kgs of beef, just a different way of thinking about the same statistics. About 5 kgs of beef. It's the amount of water that an average family of 4 or 5 people use in an entire year. 4 or 5 people, a whole year, 5 kgs of beef. If you're a beef eater, could you think about at least cutting down your beef consumption by, say, 5 kgs? It's about a little over 10 pounds, 12 pounds. Could you cut down by that much? It literally is the amount of water that a family of 4 or 5 uses in a year. So while, yes, we are facing a global water shortage, we're dealing with global land shortages and food shortages, mostly what we have is a global consciousness shortage. And that's where today, as we come together for unity, as we come together in World Unity Week, as we come together in oneness, let us choose. Choose for unity. Not just by watching this live stream and liking it and sharing it, but actually by changing how we live, how we eat, how we shop. The whole concept of more, cheaper, 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 that keeps these factories spewing waste into the air, into the soil, into the groundwater, into the rivers. It's fueled by our urge, our drive for more, cheaper, cheaper, cheaper. As we come together in unity, let's watch together, share together, like together. Let's love. Love the posts, love everything. But mostly, let us love each other. Let us really love each other in a way that we are prepared to choose and to live for each other. Because lastly, we think about peace so much. We talk about ending violence, all forms of violence. Religious violence, gender-based violence, drug-induced violence, terrorism, war. But if you take all forms of violence, you add them together, the total number of people who suffer and die every year due to all forms of violence combined is still so much less than those who are suffering and dying due to lack of water. So let us come together, really, and choose every minute, every moment for water.